Hey, do you happen to know someone who is totally turned off by religion? Maybe that's even you. What if I told you that one of the men Jesus handpicked to be his closest disciple was a religion hater? Hi, I'm Alex Ennis with Simplify Strategies, and this is our 8th devotional in our series, March to the Cross. Thanks for being here today. At Simplify Strategies, we give God-inspired solutions to help you with your personal challenges, to help you find your path forward. Today we meet Matthew in our 25 unique persons and things that Jesus met on his way to the cross and resurrection. I think a good number of us have always thought that those who followed Jesus, the 12 disciples, they always had a great heart and they were close to God. That's just simply not true. And Matthew is a perfect example of one who had left the Jewish faith and he became a tax collector. Our path forward takeaway is this: Jesus was comfortable in being with the most notorious of sinners, and they were comfortable with being with him. How's that even possible? It seems so counterintuitive that Jesus, the symbol of goodness, virtue, perfection, would even be seen with those who others would see as cheaters, thieves, liars. And that's probably some of their good qualities. Further, why did they not react and run from him? What was it about Jesus that attracted the rebels? If you're a Christian, is that said about you? I realize we all have our opinions about taxes, but nothing makes your heart skip a little when you see a letter from the IRS. Perhaps it's just a notification, but it may be something more serious. Tax collectors in those days were despised for a few reasons, but this one was the biggest. A Jewish tax collector was viewed as a traitor who turned their back on family, culture, religion. See, Jews believed that there was to be nobody over them. They would say there is no God but God. For a government, in this case, the Romans who are occupiers over them, well, this is bigger than a political problem. It's a religious one. Now, for another group, the Romans took them over and taxed them. It'd just be a political issue. For the Jews, they equated this with being in opposition to God. And you thought our politics were abusive. The Romans made jobs available to some Jewish people to collect taxes from other Jews. It was a brilliant move to turn Jews against one another instead of the Romans having to do it. The Romans let them know in certain regions how much they should expect to receive in taxes. The tax collector could tax anyone and everyone on top of the normal tax, keep some for themselves. I'm sure you can see where this is going. You could really become corrupt and punish people you didn't like without worry of penalty from the government. There was nothing to keep you in check. Furthermore, Roman soldiers constantly accompanied you to make sure you were safe. They could also help enforce whatever tax you came up with. Not a bad job if you're just looking for a ton of money with no repercussions. Hey, in Mark chapter 2, verses 13 to 17, we read about Matthew. Now, his name's also Levi. Here's what it says. Then Jesus went out to the lakeshore again and taught the crowds that were coming to him. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Levi got up and followed him. Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. There were many of this kind among Jesus' followers. But when the teachers of religious law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with tax collectors and other sinners, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with such scum?" When Jesus heard this, he told them, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I've come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners." This is quite the scene. Jesus goes to a party with a bunch of scum. Not exactly the pristine Jesus we sometimes think of. He's right in the middle of what their culture considered so unworthy, they called them scum. And notice what the religious leaders do. They try to create division by going to the disciples to make them question. The religious leaders want Jesus' teachings to, fall apart. One of the best ways to do that is to get his followers to question and ultimately leave his ministry. But let's get back to Matthew. Why would he be drawn to Jesus and yet be repulsed by religion? He had seen religion in all of its practices. It was a world of hypocrisy and judgmentalism. Jesus was the opposite of those things. We don't fully know how Matthew heard Jesus, but have some clues. Matthew had a tax collecting booth, and it was outside. Outside's where Jesus taught, and it likely would have been near where Matthew's tax collecting booth was. Something tells me Matthew laughed when Jesus would needle the religious leaders. You've heard the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Matthew may not have said much out loud, but he was drawn to Jesus and something uniquely different about Jesus. While others saw a despised tax collector, Jesus saw an emerging apostle. His view was different than anyone else's regarding Matthew and his future. Did you know that Jesus sees you that same way? Matthew's experiences were going to be incredibly used in the years ahead. How so? Matthew is thorough in his accounting of taxes. That kind of specificity led Matthew to being the one who goes through all the lineage of Jesus in chapter 1 of Matthew, and he declares Jesus as the King of Kings to the Jews. The Messiah, Savior, had come from a certain lineage, and Matthew proclaims it. He also references the Old Testament 38 times to say, this happened so that it might fulfill, to show how prophecies came true in Jesus. Because of his experience in being with the Roman soldiers, guess who gives us the behind the scenes of all the dialogue of the governor, Pilate, and the Roman soldiers around Jesus' death and crucifixion? It's Matthew. It's his scum of the earth friends. See, God never wastes your past experiences. If he used Matthew, he can use you. Hey, if this devotional inspired you, share it in the comments below. After commenting, maybe take a few seconds to think of someone who might need to hear this devotional. See you next time when we do discuss the religious people. Hey, thanks so much for being here. See you next time.